Human beings have an incredible capacity in their brains for socialization and relationship forming. Over the course of history, the human nature for culture, collaboration, and camaraderie goes back a long way. But have you ever wondered what other creatures have those tendencies? To form family groups, raise the young with care, and teach them what they know not by instinct, but by learning? Have you ever wondered if animals are always in monogamous relationships when raising their young, or how many there are in a family group? Well, my name is Yukon. I'm a golden lion tamarin, and I'm here to bring you the primate perspective on anthropomorphic anthropology, also known as A Squared, here on 102.6 Radwell Radio. Today, our topic falls to family living and relationships in the primate world. A fascinating topic to say the least, since we primates tend to have complex societies. This is due to our large brain-to-body ratio, as we have the capacity for more than just survival and instinct. Many primate species, like myself, have whole hierarchies in their family groups. Trust me, you should see my family reunions. Primate social etiquette is vast between species, from the rather solitary orangutan, who usually travels alone from 4 to 5 years at a time, to the infrastructure of a group of macaques living together. Today, though, I mainly want to focus on 2 types of family groupings, and the monkeys that make them. Or apes, if that's more applicable. And it happens to be. One of the primate societies I'm going to talk about today are gorillas, a species grouped with the great apes in taxonomy, and the largest living primate to date. These behemoths are known for their signature looks, especially the males for their silver backs, and are also known for their reputation as big, scary apes in movies like King Kong. However, these groups actually tend to be a lot more relaxed than one might think. A single family group of gorillas, about 4 to 6 adults and juveniles, usually consists of 1 male and several females, what we in the business call a polygynous relationship. Young gorillas are raised for and cared by the women, who are usually generational in nature, since the females of the species don't tend to leave the family groups. Males tend to be the mediators, protectors and providers once they are the head of a family group, while single males tend to roam between territories. Some attempt to challenge the main man of the house once they're old enough to usurp them, but oftentimes the older silverback will have none of it, and you don't want to be there when a gorilla gets angry. Another interesting fact about gorilla society is that they tend to have very distinct personalities, as do we all. But for all their reputation as brutes, gorillas tend to be quite personable types. From learned silly behaviors passed down from family members, to knowledge of how old a fellow playmate needs to be to roughhouse, to favorite foods, these large ape friends of ours tend to be a lot more lovable than we give them credit for. Perhaps we should go easier on them, yeah? A little less King Kong treatment. The other primate group I want to talk about are actually close cousins of mine, the Emperor Tamarins. Us tamarins have all kinds of variations. I myself am a golden lion tamarin and take very good care of my mane, but the Emperor Tamarins have a tuft of hair much different than my own, a big white bushy mustache. I always wonder how those things are kept in order. Unlike some apes and monkeys, Emperor Tamarins are arboreal in nature. We tamarins like to stick to the trees, and our prehensile tails as a species tends to help us out with making sure we're on balance and not falling to the forest floor. As far as social dynamics go, Emperor Tamarins tend to stick to their small groups, but can pair up with other tamarins. Small groups consist of about 4 primates, but these little parties can grow as large as 20 inhabitants. Most often, the emperors will team up with the saddlebacks, though. When you're small, it's easy to have large predators try and pick you off, but in larger groups, it's easier to watch each other's backs. My family group stuck with an emperor troop once when I was younger. They were actually quite a lovely bunch. As for family matters, Emperor Tamarins have a somewhat opposite family structure to gorillas, the smaller primate functioning with a pair of twins cared for by a single female and 2 males. This is a polyandrous family group. 2 dads when mum needs to find food or do something she can't do with the twins on her back. Each dad helps without hostility because the likelihood of either child being his is equal. So they set aside their differences and try their best to help out when they can, and win Mum's favour. But primate society doesn't just stop there. From humans to baboons to lemurs, all of us primates tend to have really complex social interactions, tendencies, and ways of socialising. Comparing and contrasting them shouldn't be a means of pointing fingers and finding one that is quote-unquote correct, but instead a chance to look at the beautiful ways we all live. I'm honestly very glad I got the chance to share this slice of primate culture and society with all of you on this fine afternoon. Perhaps it can help us all put into perspective what we think is important. Whether you have children or a family, partners or none, many or few, we all love and care for someone out there. And I think that is something we can all be grateful for today, am I right? The A² segment is brought to you by the Hominid Bridge Project, an aim to bring the primates of the world closer together through media, whether anthropomorphic, humanoid, or something in between, to bridge the species gap of understanding. It's also brought to you by our generous donators and by you, our amazing, wonderful listeners. Up next on our list is Birds of a Feather Rock Together, where our cockatoo friends Bertie and Gertie Teal bring you the news on the latest up-and-coming bands hot off the presses. And be sure to tune in for tonight's airing of Calm and Claude Beats with Onyx over on 101.5 Burnell Radio, as the lo-fi finishes off the long, tiring day many of us have had. This is Yukon, signing off and thanking you for listening to A². This educational fictional mini podcast episode was created by Jules Keegan for an anthropology project at UNCG. Yukon, the Golden Lion Tamarin, and the podcast concept of A² are my intellectual properties, and I would highly appreciate feedback in the comments. This podcast was heavily inspired by the creation of Calm and Claude Beats by Sibylline Sounds and the world of Burnell from Cottlewag, and it would be a mistake not to thank them for the inspiration they've given me to create Yukon and this podcast concept. I would also like to thank my friends for listening to the project and giving me feedback throughout, and to my partner for being there for me during the ups and downs of this extensive project. Thank you so much, my dear. The music featured in this episode of A² are the tracks Wine, Storybook, and Teapot from Luke Crembo. Full rights to the music are owned by Luke Crembo. The link to Common Claude Beats, each of the songs, and the citations for the informational sources used in this project are available in the descriptions below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.